This week in Geek History.
Oh-ee-oh, Talespin, oh-ee-oh, Talespin. Do you guys remember Talespin? Of course you remember Talespin, especially if you grew up in the 90s like me. Saturday morning cartoons were awesome. And today we're gonna go back down nostalgia road to take a look at some amazing history with Talespin. So, why are we talking about Talespin? Well, Jungle Book just was released this past week, and it was an amazing movie. If you want to know more about the Jungle Book, go watch it. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Talespin. And more importantly, we're talking about the Jungle Book. But not the movie that just came out. We're talking about 1967, Walt Disney's The Jungle Book. In 1967, Walt Disney Pictures created one of the most inspirational Disney animated films, and probably the most inspirational film of all time, The Jungle Book, which was based on Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, which was a series of stories that touched on all these different children living in the jungle, including Rikki Tikki Tavi and Mowgli. Mowgli's brothers, which is the story that The Jungle Book is based on, was just one story in the series. But none of that's important to why we're talking about Talespin. The most important thing in all of this is this man right here, Phil Harris. Now this man voiced the character Baloo in The Jungle Book in 1967. And Phil Harris was known as a comedian. He was a writer, a composer. He was a singer. He was a radio star, and even had a short stint on television. But it was this character, this bear, that would make Phil Harris's career and essentially make Disney's. The history books will tell you that The Jungle Book was the last film to receive Walt Disney's personal touch before passing away in December of 1966. But what it may not tell you is that Disney kind of hit a rough time after this, and the company probably would have gone down if it hadn't been for Phil Harris reprising roles very similar to Baloo. For instance, Aristocats, which was released right afterwards, has Thomas O'Malley, played by Phil Harris, playing a very similar role. And then Baloo the Bear even returns in 1973 for the animated film Robin Hood. So what does this have to do with Talespin? Well, isn't it obvious? Glen Keane and ducks. In the early 80s, Glen Keane began making animated films for Disney. Who remembers The Black Cauldron? Well, neither do I. But that's okay, they kept him on anyway, and he started making some of the most incredible Disney films of all time, including The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, even Tangled now, and everything else. Disney, he is the face of the animation for Disney as well as many other things. So what does that have to do with ducks? Well, due to Glen Keane's success, Disney was able to start producing a lot of television shows. I mean a lot of television shows. They basically covered the whole afternoon block. You got home from school in the 90s and you were watching Disney cartoons, Aladdin. You were watching Gummy Bears and Goof Troop and well, Talespin, which is what our whole story started with. And Talespin was a reboot of The Jungle Book. But that's not important right now. And what does that have to do with ducks? Well, the afternoon lineup all started with one cartoon, and that was Ducktales. And Ducktales is getting its own reboot. Check it out. I know, right? Right? I know it's not very much to go off of, but it's Ducktales, and it's getting rebooted. So that's history right there. It's already happened. It's amazing. So we're excited about that, and check it out. So I'm Scrooge McDuck with that hashtag show. Next week we'll be talking about Marvel's Civil War. I've got me money on the one in gold, and that's it for this week in Geek History. Is he gone? Is Josh gone? Okay, listen up, you guys. I don't have much time, but I need to tell you something very, very important. Zootopia is a real place. That's what Disney's been trying to tell us all along. Look at the history. History. It'll tell us everything. Robin Hood is the history of Zootopia. The Jungle Book is the history of Zootopia. It all connects. It's where all the Disney characters come from. It's all leading to this utopia that Disney will create and bring to this galaxy. That's why they need the Marvel heroes. It's real. It's real. Don't let them find me. #Zootopia lives.